Hello and welcome again. Today I want to move into our next activity for topic 5.3 for IB Biology, biodiversity. Just to review, of course, from the last activity, you were supposed to classify one plant example, one animal example, as given in the applications section of section 5.3 for the IB Biology Guide, and you are supposed to place all of these examples through the Linnaean hierarchy of domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. You're supposed to lay things out with a photo over here, all of the names of the hierarchy here, and then some reasons why you put it in the plant kingdom, in the phylum Angiosperms, in a specific genus, and in a specific species. You do the same for an animal example. Many people, of course, chose to use their dog, use their cat, use a fern that you have in your house, use whatever you have, and you've got two photos. That is to be uploaded to the classification of species assignment on ManageBack, and that should be completed by the time you begin your class today. One question now to engage everyone, and you will type your answer in the live chat. Which of these components was not around in the original system of Carl Linnaeus? Which of these components in the hierarchy was not used by Carl Linnaeus when he came up with his Systema Naturae in the 1700s? Type your answer in the chat now. Yes, the correct answer, of course, is the domain. The three-domain system is something that biologists have come to agree upon within the last 100 years. Based on certain bits of evidence which weren't around in the time of Carl Linnaeus, we now have three domains to consider. The domain bacteria, the domain archaea, and of course the domain eukarya. Two of these domains are made up of one cell type, and the other domain is made up of another cell type. What are the names of the cell type associated with each domain? Yes, correct to all of you who said bacteria and archaea are prokaryotic cells, cells that lack a distinct nucleus and many other features which we're going to study in another topic. And of course, you have the domain eukarya, made up of plants, animals, fungi, protists. All of the big life that we see around us belongs to one single domain. And the reason that biologists have come to decide upon this is because the biodiversity that's out there is not only to be thought of from what we can see with our eyes, because you've got a whole range of microscopic organisms, the bacteria, and those two groups of bacteria differ from each other so profoundly that they've been put each into their own domain. To understand these differences, biologists take evidence from certain specific areas. One biologist is known for coming up with the three-domain system. What's his name? And what evidence did he use to justify his three-domain system? Type your answer to that question. Now, you might have said Carl Weiss, and then you might have also said that he used RNA evidence. If you said that, those are the two correct answers. So now we're ready to look at today's assignment. And today's assignment requires us to use the database that we've been creating with 39 of you guys out there in the IB Biology class of 2022 cohort. And you have been asked to go out into your surroundings. I know that we are in a lockdown situation, but you go out into your surroundings and you get some photos of plant and animal specimens. I've also added some photos of my own. I specifically want you to go out right now and let these photos be current as far as possible. Not something that you've taken on a vacation 2 years ago. If you have nothing else you can get, you can use some old ones. I certainly don't want the photos to come from some Google search. I want you to be out there in nature, populating our collaborative folder, because what we are doing also in this activity is we are modeling the nature of science, and collaboration is a very important part of the nature of science. Scientists are collaborators and they do cooperative work. So if each of you have done your bit and you put in 4 or 5 photos in that folder, then we'll have a database, our own database that we have created. And we're going to go into that database and look at what the IB Biology Guide wants us to do for the plant kingdom. It wants us to subdivide this plant kingdom into some distinct groups. One group, the bryophytes. You can call it the bryophytes, or you can use the Latinized name, the bryophyta. Then you have the phylacinophytes. This is the term used in the IB Biology Guide, and it's the one that we will use. Some also refer to this group as the pteridophytes. These include the ferns, this includes the mosses and the liverworts, and then you have plants, big plants, but they don't produce any flowers. They belong to the phylum Conifer. They belong to the conifer phylum, or Coniferophyta. And then you have the flowering plants, those that produce bright flowers and those that produce less colorful flowers as well. Wind-pollinated flowers also belong in this group. The angiosperms. The term angiosperm itself means seed within a vessel. And the conifers, or the gymnosperms as they're sometimes called. And that term gymnosperm, not used by the IB, is actually a better term because translated from Latin it means the naked seed. If you look at any of these cone-bearing plants and you shake them a bit, the seed will fall out of the cone. But in the angiosperms, the seed stays inside of the ovary and develops into the fleshy fruit in fruits like tomatoes and mangoes and avocados and those that we're familiar with. But there are also, of course, fruits of those tiny plants like those that are wind-pollinated that also have a similar structure. And one of the things that binds all angiosperms is the presence of a flower and then the seed developing within a vessel, the ovary. The conifers having what you call the naked seed, also referred to as the gymnosperms. And these two groups, the phylacinophytes and the bryophytes, they are known for using spores in their reproductive process. And they have a distinctly different type of reproductive process that's more dependent upon the presence of moisture, especially the bryophytes, which is why you find them always in very moist places. But I would want you to go into the shared folder and see if you can find examples that we have shared as a group to match each of these 4 phyla of the plant kingdom. As you find something, I want you to attach the photo to a diagram like this. Cite whose folder you got it from, which of your classmates' folders you got it from, or if you got it from my folder or one of the other teachers' folder. Cite where you got it from and say why you placed it under each of these categories. After that, I want you to write some reflections. Reflections about things like which plant group here was easiest to find and which was most difficult to find. And what are your thoughts on a possible explanation for why one group was most easy to find and why others were less so? And put all of that in a document and get ready to share it on ManageBack before the end of class today. After that, we're going to do a similar thing for the animal kingdom.